Who are our stakeholders? Typically, on a project, we have stakeholders internal to the team, to the project, internal to the organization where the project is done, as well as people who are external to the organization. Anyone who is impacted positively or negatively by the objectives of our project by while we carry out the work required for the project, by the results of our project. If anyone is anticipating any fear of loss of property, fear of loss of benefits, anything, or anyone is interested in our project because in the end they're gonna benefit. So if somebody gets apprehensive, somebody gets excited, all these people, organizations, departments, societies, everyone is becomes our stakeholder. So they have a stake in our project, positive or negative. When it comes to internal to the organization, it involves all the managers, sponsors, project team members. When it comes to external to the organization are our customers, any other organization, and government entities, regulatory bodies. So we might have contractors, subcontractors, business partners, suppliers, all these become our stakeholders. So they have a stake. Maybe we have outsourced part of the work to contractors and subcontractors. So they have a stake in this project. So they become stakeholders. And internal to the team is your own team, which you work with, PM himself, and all the development team, whatever nature of the project is. If you are doing construction project, then you think about all the team that is involved in the construction, starting from laborers, designers, engineers, estimators, planners. Everybody become your stakeholder. They will contribute towards the completion of the project in one way or another. Yeah. So what we gonna do, we are going to populate our stakeholder register. So it will be a list of stakeholders with their names, with their departments they belong to, their categories, and we'll keep on adding columns and enriching the stakeholder register with their engagement, current engagement, desired engagement, any plan, any communication plan, any preferred way of communication, what to be communicated to this type of stakeholder. So stakeholder management plan and communication management plan both go side by side. So when it comes to stakeholder, what are their communication needs? What is the area of the project they are more excited or interested about? And in order to classify the stakeholders, that are they interested in our project? Are they having any power in the organization or influence in the organization? We broadly categorize these stakeholders based on the power interest matrix, power influence matrix, team matrix. We can see on the screen stakeholder engagement assessment matrix and various grids. So we'll see what are these. Well, stakeholder identification starts much early, much early. We need, if we are appointed as a PM and there are we have a task to identify the stakeholders. So we can look into some documentation which is existing, uh, which is already prepared prior to the start of the project, let's say business case, the benefit management plan. Such documents we can look for the stakeholders. Any agreement in place, any contract that is signed, we can look for the stakeholders. We'll find out external, especially stakeholders from the agreements. And uh, we need to further analyze them because it's important that we try to categorize who are important stakeholders and who are just to be kept informed. So our strategies towards potential powerful stakeholders will be different, and latent or laid back stakeholders who have no interest, no power, our strategies will be different. So we need to categorize them first, identifying their interest, their involvement, their influence in the organization, and the potential impact they can generate for the success of our project. So how we will assess stakeholder power, influence, interest? We have various ways. We have identified them now. and then we can do a questionnaire survey approach. We can prepare some questionnaires, we can prepare some surveys, and we can call for a brainstorming session. As I said, some of the documents also exist um, prior to assignment appointment of the PM. So document analysis is another technique which will help us to identify the current involvement of the stakeholders. The representations are there. We can see all these grids: power, interest, power, influence, impact, influence. These are just the X and Y axis where we plot power, and Y axis, I mean, Y axis we can plot interest, and X axis we can plot power, or vice versa. Similarly, if we plot power against influence, we will find another grid. Impact against influence, will find another. There's not much difference, but it's just a way of looking at these. To start with, we prepare our stakeholder register. It's nothing other than an a matrix which has various columns. Start with, it has stakeholder name, stakeholder department, their power, their influence, their interest, whatever we will keep on identifying will be adding there, their preferred way of communication, and the area of interest in the project. What are the areas they have in the project? What are their expectation from the project? So name of the stakeholder, title, internal or external, what is the role in the project, what are the major requirements from the project, or where they are interested, which part of the project or deliverable they are interested in, what are their expectations in the project, what is their influence and attitude towards the project. That's a grid. That's a grid we can see. It's comprehensive. It tells power mean what is their authority level. Definitely higher in the organization, people are more power, having more power. Interest is subjective. Interest is that what is their concern? Are they concerned about the project outcomes? What is there in that project for them? What is the area of interest for them? What you will bring for them with this project, right? Influence mean, are they having any ability to influence project outcomes or cause any changes to your planning or execution? Classify a stakeholder in various matrices that we just talked about. So let's take an example of power interest. We have four quadrants: a low interest stakeholder and a low power stakeholder. You may choose to monitor them, just monitor them. People who are more interested but not having much power, we can keep them informed. That's the only thing we would be doing. So we'll not take much effort in managing those stakeholders. We'll just keep them informed. We see them. But the people who has power, our strategy will be different. Even if they have low interest, we need to keep them satisfied. And the right side is managed closely. People with high power and high interest in this upper right hand corner, we need to manage them closely. Anybody falling under this category, he or she has got more power and more interest, so we need to keep them involved in all the meetings, probably appraise them, get their buy-in. They should be aware in and out of your project. The direction of influences. Okay, so if you are talking about upper management, then it is upward. Any team, if you talk about your team, then it is downward. And if you go towards external environment, then it is outward. And if you look about functional managers, your other project managers at the same in the same organization, your peers, then this is sidewards. Holders is salience model, which provides us three areas: stakeholders which demand urgency, stakeholders which demands legitimacy, and which has power. Okay, so let's talk about urgency. Urgency means that they have time concern. The stakes are high. You have to appraise them as soon as possible. Okay, so there is time constraint, and these people have to be appraised at first. So let's say any critical emergency happened, any accident happened on the site. Who should be the first one to be communicated? You need to understand the safety in charge, at the site, any sponsor, anyone who can immediately buy in the support. So that's the level of urgency. Level of authority mean the power. Legitimacy means that the project interest in the project, approximate appropriate involvement, how close the stakeholder is with the project. So that is the legitimacy. And the quadrant over here, if it is not highlighted, I will try to highlight it. Anybody which falls under this region will have the legitimacy, will have the power, and will have the urgency. So this stakeholder need to be managed very closely. Resilience model. So what did we say? The stakeholders which have got power, urgency, and legitimacy, right? These were the broad categories we talked about. However, area where the stakeholder has the legitimacy, he has the power, he or she has the urgency as well. So those are called as definitive stakeholders. Dangerous stakeholders. Who are those? Dangerous. Why? Because they've got the power and you need to appraise them urgently. They are very dependent. They have urgency and they have legitimacy. So these are classified as dependent. Then the others are dominant, okay? Who has the power, who has the legitimacy. And there are further areas, discretionary, dormant, right? And then you have demanding. So how your area of attention should be. The attention that you need to give is the most attention you need to give is to the definitive. And then you will go towards these inner circles, dangerous and dependent. These are next area of concern, the outward one. And then you go towards dormant, discretionary, and demanding. So that's your third area, less prominent. And the others, dormant and discretionary and demanding, will be less prominent. So this is how salience model in these three categories and decide your attention that you need to give. Like this, if you have stakeholder and that's the role in the project and the power they have got the power, yes. They have got the legitimacy, yes. They have got urgency, yes. They are, who are they? Definitive stakeholder is their category. And you need to manage closely. Metrics is having attitudes like, is the stakeholder resistant, or is it neutral, or is it supportive, or is it leading? And then you use the word C as a current level and the word D as a desired level. So you have a stakeholder who is currently unaware about the project, totally unaware. The power he has got, the influence. So what your strategy is, you want the desired level to be leading, or let's say supportive. So you're gonna in writing that no, this stakeholder is currently standing unaware, but I need to move it to the supportive level. That's my desired level. So this will be on the wall. This will be on the wall, and you need to devise strategies and put them in place so that one day you can say this stakeholder is now supportive. I have moved him from the unaware state through all the way to supportive, or it maybe it reached to the leading level. Okay, so when should we identify the stakeholders? Identify the stakeholder as soon as the project starts, right?
It's on early stage, yeah.
Hmm? And why? You need to know your stakeholders.
We need to know the stakeholder because we need to understand their requirements, their urgency, and a lot of other things that depend on the project to be completed.
Yes.
So that's why we need to understand the stakeholder.
Yeah, correct. What are the positive stakeholders?
Positive stakeholder who are mostly related to the internal stakeholder, like who are directly involved into.
Why do you think that it is only internal? It can't it be external who is positive?
Or I would say in that way that, for example, that who are getting affected because of that
Correct.
project, I believe.
Correct. So
So that can be a positive, yeah.
yeah, so
That
we
can
can
be both.
say who is whoever internally or externally who is getting positively impacted by the results of the project. Whoever is positively impacted, who is benefiting from the project objective or the results of the project, who will be benefiting, those stakeholders would become positive, or whoever is pro project during the project, even whoever is pro project, whoever is supporting the project completion and even facilitating the project is a positive stakeholder, internally or externally. Whoever is resisting, creating resistance, impediments, whoever is against the project objective or end result of the project, who has got negative stakes in the project, right? Who is impacted negatively, badly, maybe internal department, another department is negatively getting impacted by your project. You are doing a work, they are working, you are doing the maintenance, they are getting impacted. You need to align with them so that their normal operation is not impacted by the work of your project. So that's the strategy you will use, counter their negativity or negative attitude towards the project. And normally, we involve the whole team during the stakeholder identification process. So not only the PM job, it involves the whole team effort to identify who are the stakeholders.
I think it will be most probably it will be the D option, but second option will be the A.
Yeah. The thing is, it talks about you realize you have some tool that might assist you fleshing out this problem. So you met people, okay, you are in several weeks into a new project, right? Which is one of the most visible one. I mean, it's the prominent project in the company, and you are still getting the feeling that stakeholders, which might include the suppliers, customers, functional managers, individual contributors, they are talking that no one is pleased with this project, right? And they don't understand why this project is so hype, why it is such a high priority project. Okay, now realize this is a situation. You got to know, or you know that there is some tool that might assist you in this condition, okay, where you can flesh out the problem, that who are the stakeholders which are neutral, which are resistant, where unaware, who are supportive, who are leading. So you need to classify those, is their current attitude towards the project, and then you can prepare your strategy to deal with them. So what is that tool that can help you plot the current attitudes of all the stakeholders?
Then it can be a engagement assessment matrix, I believe.
B, no? It's B. And it is true. You're right. If you go back, just studied this one. This is a matrix which helps you to plot the attitude of the stakeholders, right? SEAM matrix is a helpful matrix which will help you to plot the current attitudes of the stakeholder. And